Hello everyone, welcome back to Into Sports. I am your host Evan, and I'm joined by.
Spencer.
And today what we're going to do is NFL. We're going to be ready for this NFL season coming up, and we're going to talk about three teams we think are going to outperform expectations, and three teams we think are going to underperform expectations. So shall we get into the outperformers?
Yeah, sure.
So I'd like to kick it off by starting with the Detroit Lions.
Uh,
6.5 game projection by Vegas. They signed Trey Flowers. They signed Danny Amendola. They had the number 8 pick in the draft, used it on TJ Hawkinson. Their offseason was pretty good. And they brought in Darrell Bevell as the offensive coordinator. They may say, what kind of significance does that have, right?
yeah, well, of course, they have the one and only Kerryon Johnson.
Yes, I believe they have the best running back in the league, Kerryon Johnson. And Darrell Bevell is a guy that was with Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. He was with Adrian Peterson in Minnesota. And he just likes to run the ball 3 downs. And Kerryon Johnson, if you feed him the ball, he's going to be a 100-yard-a-game guy.
Yeah.
And their success, they remind me a lot of the Seahawks from last year. They run it down your throat and they defend.
Reminds me a lot of the Ravens.
Yeah, and a team like the Jaguars. There's a lot of teams that win games ugly. I mean, you hate to see them on TV. But they win football games, and ultimately, that's what it's about.
Yep.
And I think that's what the Lions team could be this year.
Yeah, and you can never discount Matthew Stafford either. He's never the best, but he's always there to perform.
Yeah, to me, he's a middle-of-the-road quarterback. He's not one of the top 10, but he's not one of the bottom 10.
Nope. Well put.
So I would be comfortable with Stafford as my quarterback,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be enthusiastic. And I'm not expecting massive things. I'm not expecting this Lions team to go 13-3, but I'm expecting at least 8 games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, oftentimes they're overshadowed with, the Packers and the Bears and the Vikings always performing well in their division.
Yeah, it's a very tough division. That's the only drawback.
Yeah, but I think that this year they might prove some people wrong and, win some football games.
Yeah, and they have a middle-of-the-road schedule. Not too difficult, not too easy.
Yep.
Just like their quarterback, middle of the road. So, what is your team that you think is going to outperform expectations in 2019?
So, my first team is the Buccaneers.
I like that.
I think that we can both agree that this team is, I think they're transitioning because, a lot of people see them, the Buccaneers, not a great team.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't overlook the things that are good for them. They've got one of the best receivers in the league, Mike Evans.
Yep.
And Jameis Winston, he's got to prove himself this year. So
Yeah, he's on his last year of his contract. They brought Bruce Arians in at head coach. He's like a quarterback guru guy. And
yeah,
all the pressure's on Winston now because there's no excuses.
yeah, Peyton Barber, although he's not the greatest running back, he can still run. And I don't know, I like the way they're going with their solid receiving core and pretty much. Okay.
Yeah, and the only problem last year was, well, first of all, they turned the ball over too much through the air. Fitzpatrick, Winston throwing interceptions.
Yep.
But they were first in yards through the air per game. So they were racking up the yards, the quarterbacks. But they're also racking up the interceptions. And Dirk Cutter, their previous head coach, he's a real gunslinger. But Bruce Arians, I think he likes to take shots down the field, but he's more of a controlled head coach. He's not going to take ridiculous risks.
Yep.
But they also gave up 29 points per game last year. Second worst in the league.
But hopefully that we'll see that improve this year.
Yeah, they did draft Devin White,
Yep.
5th in the draft. So that's a positive step.
Yeah. And to add on to that stat, Evan, well, Mike Evans has one of the highest air yards per reception. So, again, he's a deep threat. So,
Yeah, and Chris Godwin is another really good deep threat receiver. That's why we like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this year.
yeah.
Now let's move on to the third outperforming team. I believe it's the San Francisco 49ers. They went 4-12 last year.
Yeah.
They didn't have their starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, for most of the year. He went down in week 3.
So, safe to say you expect big improvements from that 4-12 record?
Absolutely. I'm expecting a 10-6 ball club. They added a lot of speed. They fixed up their front 7. Now they have a legitimate pass rush. Bosa one side, D Ford the other side, DeForest Buckner up the middle.
Yeah.
They have young receivers. They have the quarterback back. They have George Kittle. They have a ton of running backs. I mean, great head coach.
How can you not love it?
Exactly. The only issue is their secondary is a little bit But
every team has
weakness. Yeah.
a weakness. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go on to those teams that some people may have high expectations for, or those they have high hopes. And me and Evan don't necessarily think that they're going to meet those high hopes and expectations. So to start, I have the Browns. And I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for this one.
Yeah, the Browns fans already bought their tickets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can't discredit their offensive
Weapons.
firepower with Jarvis Landry, Odell, Nick Chubb, and then later in the year, Kareem Hunt's going to be there, and Baker Mayfield, of course.
Yes, Baker.
So you can't discount that, but I just don't think that all these pieces will fit together right away. You know, it takes a lot for teams to get together and perform well, and not to mention their defense. I always think of it as a middle-of-the-road defense, but last year, Cleveland allowed the third most yards and the third most yards per game. So they just don't have a great defense to go along with that great offense.
Now, the defense hasn't improved. They added Greedy Williams in the draft. But going back to your point about the new kind of rock star pieces, you have all these big egos, Baker, Odell, Jarvis, and you have a rookie head coach. We're talking about Freddie Kitchens, a guy who was a running back coach at the beginning of last year. He's not too experienced, first-year head coach, obviously, and I wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jarvis Landry and Odell were teammates in college, so that could help a little bit with the coalition of the team, bringing them all together. But I think still it'll take more than just, a snap of the fingers to get them all to work together.
I think they might get out to a little bit of a slow start and then pick up the pace later in the year.
Yep, I would agree.
So how about we move to the Seattle Seahawks? Vegas has them at 8.5 wins. I don't think they're going to get there. They have to pay Russell Wilson in the offseason, big time money. Doug Baldwin, their stud wide receiver, he may retire. Now, I know you're saying, but they drafted DK Metcalf. Yeah. DK Metcalf was not a good football player last year. Let's not ignore that. He had like 30-some catches. Let's not act like he was some stud. This one picture that went on social media or whatever, that's the only reason he was drafted that high.
Yeah, he's slower than Tom Brady.
Yeah, we talk about his straight line 40 speed, but his 3-cone, 4-cone drill, both worse than Tom Brady. Yes, you heard that right. You heard that right. And on top of that, they had to trade away their pass rusher, Frank Clark, because they weren't about to pay him. Now, I like the trade long term, but short term, they don't have anybody to get after the pass. And also, Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator, he's committed to running the football. And with Chris Carson and a mediocre offensive line, I don't really think that's going to take you to the promised land. And we saw against the Cowboys where he kept Russell Wilson on a very short leash. He didn't really want him to throw the football. He just wanted to keep running on 3rd and 8 with Chris Carson. And that's not winning football games. So, compared to their expectations, for me, I think the Seahawks are doomed.
Sounds like we're talking about the Legion of Doom, not the Legion of Boom. Last, but least likely to meet expectations, we have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City. A lot of teams like this. A lot of people like this team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they got their young quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who had an amazing season last year. But Evan, you're not sold on him.
I'm absolutely not. If you give me Tyreek Hill, you give me Travis Kelce, you give me Kareem Hunt, you give me Andy Reid coaching, I might throw 50 touchdowns. All right, now let's get this very clear.
Yeah, well, all of those weapons, not all of them, but a lot of them have been taken away. So
yeah, we're talking about Kareem Hunt gone.
Yep, Tyreek Hill, his
likely gone.
Yeah, likely gone. And I just don't know what this offense is going to become. Obviously, they still have Travis Kelce, who's arguably the best tight end in the league, and I would
say so.
Yep. But their receiving, their star for receiving is Sammy Watkins, who, he's nothing special. He's not a horrible receiver, but when it's your best receiver, I don't know about that.
I think the biggest problem is that he can't stay healthy.
Yeah. And then your running back, obviously replacing Kareem Hunt, Damian Williams. I mean,
that's a B- running back.
Yeah.
I mean, he did look pretty good at the end of last year, but still.
The Chiefs, we all know they have defensive struggles, but I mean, they were the second worst team defensively in the league last year, and I don't really see that improving. Like, at least for the next couple of years, their defense will still remain one of the worst. And their offense, yes, they have Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, but how far can that really carry them?
Yeah, now, I'm a little bit more bullish on this offense. I think this is top 5 consideration. And defensively, I think they'll get a little bit better. But that just unguardableness of having Tyreek Hill, having Kareem Hunt, that's gone.
Yeah, no more.
It's like when the Warriors, if they lost Durant, they lose Cousins. Now they're not unbeatable. You can beat them, but they're still really good. That's what I see the Chiefs
Yeah,
do.
you still got your guy who's out there calling all the shots and in Curry, but you take away those pieces that really make them special. I don't know. I think people have really high expectations for this team, but it's not all that people think they are.
Yes, and we need to, let's stop acting like Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time. He threw 50 touchdowns, and he's played one season.
You can't discount that, though.
I'd be shocked if he got to 35. I'd be
All right.
very shocked.
Well, we'll have to see.
I'd put some money on that.
Okay.
So just to recap, we have our outperformers, Lions, 49ers, and Buccaneers.
And those teams that might not meet those expectations in the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Seahawks.
Yep. But anyway, I'm Evan. Spencer, thank you for joining.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you. And we're out. Peace.
Peace.